So this next method, quite honestly, I would probably do this one on my sewing machine, and we have all done this one on our sewing machines, but this is a serger project, so we are going to do it on the serger. This one can be done on the straight grains, so if you want to cut from selvage to selvage, cut your strips, you can absolutely do that. It's going to take more than one width of fabric, so you will want to join those strips with a bias seam to distribute the bulk so it doesn't all end up in one place. A 1/2 inch wide strap when I get done, and so I'm going to have 3 folds, so I need a 1/2 inch times 4, and that is 2 inches. So I'm cutting my strip 2 inches wide. And you of course will need more than just this one, but now we're going to go to the ironing board. So as we were walking over here to the ironing board, it occurred to me that some people may not know how to do a bias seam with strips. So basically you just put them together at a 90-degree angle. You want to, if this were a pair of pants, you would want to sew the waistband, not the crotch. If you sew this way, you'll end up with an L. But if you sew in the waistband, just sew straight across, then you will have a bias seam and it will look like that. And you can do that at your serger using the markings on your foot, and it will trim that seam while it sews that seam. So now back to what we were going to do when we got over here, and that is prepare this strap for the serger. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half the long way, and I am going to press in my center fold, and I am doing a fine job, I might add, in spite of the pressure of being in front of a camera. There we go. That was a little bit of a blooper there, but we'll see how it works out. Okay, now I have the center fold pressed on and on the entire strip. Now I'm going to bring each side into the middle and press that down as well. It used to bug me that I pressed out my center fold when I pressed in these side folds. It doesn't anymore, and that's because it's easier then to match up the 2 outside folds. I don't have to fold it right on the center. I can fold it wherever they match up. One side done. Should have cut this strip shorter. This has to be boring. But some of what we do in sewing is in fact boring. Now I'm doing this really quickly, so chances are that center fold will be of no use to me anyway, so I'm not at all worried that I have pressed that out for the most part. I do love steam, and this iron really cranks out the steam. I love this iron. Alright, got my 2 outside folds done. Now I'm going to fold it in half, match those folds, and press it flat again. And this is actually a part that you could do with the sewing machine, but why add yet another thing to worry about while you're there when you're standing right here and can do it here? And we've already established that this has gotten boring, so you guys aren't expecting anything more. I'm seeing how how the audience is holding up. They're being very patient. Terry desperately wants to walk into the kitchen right now, but if he does, he'll plant himself in the video. All right. And they're all asleep. We are ready to go to the serger. Okay, so now we're back at the serger, and as I said, we're gonna set the serger up for a 3-thread rolled edge. I do not have all of the stitches, that this machine can do committed to memory. And I keep my thread card right next to the sewing machine, or to the serger all the time. And I refer to it frequently when I'm changing from one thing to another. And I will attest that when I don't get the result that I want, or expect, if I go back to my thread chart, I did something wrong. These machines don't make mistakes, we do. So anyway, I'm going to set mine up for a 3-thread rolled edge. And so my thread chart tells me that I need to move my needle. Before I had it set in the left position, I now need to move it over to the right position. See if I got my tools. I do. And I'm going to show you how easy that is to do. With threading these machines is not difficult, but save a little bit of time if you don't have to completely rethread. So I'm going to move that needle from the left position over to the right here where the needle is. I'm going to put my foot up. So I didn't have to unthread that needle to do this. I'm just going to slip it now into the right position. But the top of my machine is still threaded as if I'm using the left. So this is the needle thread. I'm going to take it out of that position and just scoot it over here. I'm going to take it off the thread tower and put it where it belongs, and that took me all of a minute to do, and I didn't have to completely rethread. So now my thread chart tells me that I'm using the 02 needle, just did that. My length, stitch length, can be anywhere from 0.75 millimeters to 4.8. I'm going to set mine at 2 just so you can see what it looks like. And the stitch width should be 3.5. Now, that 3.5 is the bottom number on the stitch width dial, and that's because we have the right needle in. There's 2 numbers for every stitch width position. The top one refers to the left-hand needle, the bottom one refers to the right. I actually did not set my width. I need to go into the rolled edge position for the 2 millimeter stitch length, and I'm setting my stitch selector at D, and that tells the automatic thread delivery system how long those threads should be. I'm now going to attach the lace applicator foot because it's going to help keep those folds away from the knife. Super easy to get these on. They're snap-on feet. And I have the guide on the applicator foot set just slightly left of the knife. So I am good to go. So I feed this in. Don't have to take it in too far. Feed dogs will grab it. Now it is actually turning this fabric ever so little bit, but like I said, I'm not really worried about that. We'll go a little faster. We could pretend we went into, what is that, fast mode? Alright, so I have got that put together. Now, if I had wanted to do only one side of this, I could have matched my thread to the fabric, and that rolled edge would barely show up. Since I used a contrast, if I were to use this strap, I would probably do the same thing on the other side. But this by far is probably the easiest method to use to make your straps, and it'll make a nice sturdy strap that'll last the life of the bag. So that's it for overlock.